Welcome back to yet another episode of Warren's World, the podcast with one guy, too many questions, and a microphone that listens better than anyone else. I'm your host, Warren. It's been a minute. It has been a minute since I have uploaded. If you watch my videos often, I'm sorry for the delay. This one will be coming out right after I record it. It is Friday, December 26th, one day after Christmas. So, happy holidays, everybody. Man, it has been a year. Obviously, I haven't had this channel for the year. I created it probably only a month or two ago. But for me personally, what a year it has been. Nothing bad, nothing crazy. Just a lot of hard work put in at school, at work, all around. Holiday season, they're always crazy. They can be really fast paced, overstimulating for some people. And so it's important to just, take a deep breath after all this has come. We still have New Year's. We'll talk about that in a bit. Still have New Year's right around the corner. But other than that, I think now is a good time to take a deep breath. Slow down a little bit. Felt like, every year things just build up to this day, Christmas/New Year's, It's that circular motion that we move in. And we're starting over again in a few days. So, congrats on making it this far. Another year around the globe, another trip around the sun. Welcome back. For any new viewers out there, this is Warren's World, the podcast where we just talk about random stuff, whatever's going on. Sometimes I have a script, sometimes I don't. Today I brought one, not a script, but some talking points. If you're joining us, I do have a cat. Her name is Babsy. She might be joining us at some point during this podcast. She likes to hop up and chill. I can hear her. She's drinking water in the other room. But for now, it's just us. I encourage you to get a drink, get a little snack, do whatever you're doing. Just sit back and let my words guide you through a little story time. Yeah. So, once again, I'm sorry for the delay. I actually tried to record an episode. It must have been a few days ago now, 3 or 4 days ago now. And it has not been uploaded. There's still only 3 episodes. This is going to be episode 4. And I tried to record what was supposed to be this one a few days ago, and oh my gosh, it went horribly. I don't know what happened. Right now I feel like, I guess I just have been stressed out with like the holiday season and stuff like that, worrying about, what are you going to get for other people, um, seeing a bunch of people that you haven't seen in maybe a year or so. This time can be a bit odd. It throws your rhythm off for sure. I sat down to record that video. It was going great, honestly, for the first 10 minutes. And as you know, these videos are usually pretty much longer form videos, 30, 40 minutes, 50 minutes, an hour, And I got through about 10 or 15 minutes of that episode, and I realized, like, I just had nothing to talk about. And there's always something I can talk about, don't get me wrong. But I think that I went into it so willy-nilly, and so, I didn't have a plan. And I was doing show and tell. That was the idea for that episode. And if you'd like to see some show and tell with some cool things from my belongings, let me know in the comments below. I think it would be a really fun episode. But I had planned that out and thought it would take a good amount of time to talk through. And I got done and I was like, shoot, I don't know what to do now. Because it had only been like 20 minutes. I don't know. And I'm not going to sit here and say that like these episodes need to be a certain length, but I don't want them to be dramatically different from one another. So I scrapped that idea. I felt really bad. I had to take a few days to regroup my thoughts again, come up just I was thinking about stuff that I wanted to talk about. Um, but yeah, that episode's going to remain in the archives for now, probably forever. But if you want to see show and tell, let me know. I think that would be a fun episode. Um, and that kind of brings me to my first topic, which is failure. Um, Obviously, I failed miserably on that episode. It's pretty funny. Like there were some points during it where I was like, blah 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 blah. Um, um, you know what I mean? Like I was seriously drawing a blank on everything, and that's fine. But I don't want to do that on. I don't want to make that a habit. So failure. How do you move on from failure? What does it mean to fail? Um, is failure necessary to grow? Um, I think failure is something that I personally am super afraid of. And like, I'm not saying that and expecting like this podcast to blow up and be like 100,000 million subscribers, whatever. Like, I don't consider that a fail because that wasn't really my goal to begin with. I think failure for me is like letting myself down a little bit. That's a big part of it. Um, when I think of failure, the first thing my brain jumps to is definitely school and academics. Um, for anybody who's watching, who's also in school, you know how it feels to want to do good, really want to try your best, give it all you got, and then sometimes it doesn't go as well. And you gave it what you got, and you got an F. Now, what I will say though is like if you really do give something what all that you have, you're probably not gonna fail. Um, but if you half-ass it and don't put forth your best effort, then I think failure is more so something that you need to reflect on and something that you need to be like, okay, what did I do wrong there? And sometimes it's really obvious what you did wrong. Sometimes it's takes a bit more deep diving and digging into your own mind to be like, what seriously could I have done better? And that's definitely takes some ability to be uncomfortable with your own thoughts because pointing out something that you did wrong yourself can be really like hard to do. And you really have to just let go of your pride and be like, all right, seriously, they're like, what did I do wrong? Because when it comes to academics, it's usually just you. And now I get like group projects and stuff like that, but for the most part in school, you are your own captain to your ship, and that's such a corny saying, but like seriously, in that setting specifically, you are in charge. Um, and so don't get me wrong, I've definitely failed at school before. I failed at a lot of other things too. Um, but failure, as I was getting to, is, I believe, so necessary to grow. I mean, it's the most corny saying, again, like, you learn the most from your failures, but that really is a saying for a reason. I think I talked at one point on a different episode about my baseball experience and my baseball stories from the past. Um, and so this goes to talk about failure. I was I thought I was pretty darn good at baseball growing up for like years and years and years. In our little rec league or whatever in our hometown, like I was pretty good out there on the field, and um, so I was never really used to failing in that area of my life. When it did happen, I took it really rough. I remember every time I'd strike out, I'd get so upset at myself, like really mad. Um, Whenever I would walk somebody, I would be really mad as a pitcher. Hit somebody with a ball, feel awful. Um, but the more that you go through that, the more used to it you get, and it comes to a point where it's like you strike out and you're like, all right, whatever. And there is a good balance. Like you don't want to fail and be like, whatever. You definitely want to fail and be like, okay, there's a reason that happened, and where can I get better? But with baseball specifically, I remember I was trying out for the middle school team year after year, and I wasn't making it. And I was just thinking to myself, like, there's no way this can be happening. Like, where am I failing? Where am I not doing well? Um, and it took a lot of coming to terms with. Like I'm still talking about it to this day, obviously. But baseball is one of those areas where learning to fail really helped me grow as a person because after I would not make the team year after year, I think a part of me would really start to accept that like failure does take it does take failure to grow. And like had I actually made those teams, my life would look so much different now. Me and my dad talk about this all the time. We say like, well, what if you would have made that sixth grade team and then seventh and then eighth and ninth and so on? I mean, I never would have fallen in love with film and like media production. I never would have picked up the guitar as much as I did. I never would have done a lot of things, probably. Um, and so I think that failure is like one door closes and another one opens, you know? Um, you fail a test and you say, where do I need to better myself? And another door opens. It's like, okay, this specific area. Um, going back to school, I guess. I talked about this again on another episode, but like the COVID era, like 2021 sophomore year, we had just come out of COVID. Like it had shut down the second half of our freshman year in high school, like completely shut down, no school. And so that was during like spring break, so like March. And so you're out of school from March until the next time that school begins the next year. So that was April, May, June, July, August. It's like 5 month summer break of no academics, just hanging out with your friends, goofing off. And I definitely could have taken some accountability and been like, I'm gonna read some books and I'm gonna keep up. But no, you just play video games, you hang out with your friends, yada yada yada. And so you come back to school after all that time and your rhythm is so off. It has been a long time since you last like sat down and read a book or tried to solve a math equation. And I remember this class, Algebra 1. And that sounds, I mean, it would probably be so freaking easy now, obviously, because I've learned a lot. But it was the hardest class for me, especially because we were learning over the Zoom call. And I think math is one of those subjects that you really just got to be in person to talk about. You got to have a teacher there to like look over your shoulder and be like, "Am I doing this right?" And on Zoom class, it was like you would follow along with this person's notes. You'd be dozing off half the time because you woke up 5 minutes before the class even started. And so it was just really hard to retain information. And in that Algebra 1 class, I think I remember it was like 4 or 5 tests in a row, like tests, not quizzes, that I had failed miserably, like 50s, 40s, 60s, you know. And I got so frustrated. Um, and I'll connect this to my current self now. Um, I would be so frustrated, and that was like one of the first times that I really had to go after class or like after school and meet up with a teacher. I won't want to say professor because I'm used to that now, but meet up with a teacher and be like, I need help. I need help in this area. I'm not doing well. I don't want to do bad. Again, I'll talk about more of this in a second. And so, you know, I scraped by that class. I honestly didn't see those signs of like I'm struggling and like really tried to catch up or anything. I kind of let it eat away, and I probably didn't pass that class um, very smoothly. Like I had to pass it to move on, obviously, but it probably wasn't pretty. Anyways, fast forward to my college experience. Again, it's kind of funny. I guess my sophomore year of college now. Um, it was my yeah. It was a first semester. So right after summer break, you know, I had been working. My mind was not set on academics. I come back, and I had changed my major to psychology. I was a freshman film major, changed it to psychology going into my sophomore year. And so in doing so, had I had learned that there was a lot of different classes that I had to take, prerequisites. So I was behind a little bit, so I had to take the statistics class. This is parallel story with the geometry or the algebra. In the statistics class, I walk in 8 a.m. The professor is great. He's very knowledgeable, great guy. Shout out Cardizano if you're watching. But great professor, but the material was absurd. It was stats for the sciences, so statistics, but it was specifically the for the science majors. Um, and man, we had to learn all these equations and all this stuff that I was pretty unfamiliar with. It had been a while since I took like a demanding math class. The only other math class I had taken in college was super easy before that. So I walk into this class and it is just so hard for the first few weeks. I am just not understanding. It is going over my head, over my head, over my head. Um, and I remember I would call my mom all the time and be like, this is not going well. This is really hard for me. Like, I might have to drop this class. And she was like, you need to give it a little bit more thought, give it a little bit more of your energy, like you can do this if you really try. Hi, Babsy. Um, and so what I did differently this time than what was in high school was I seriously buckled down and I was like, I'm not failing this class. Like, obviously, high school and college, big differences in importance. But in college, I was like, I'm not failing this class. I will do whatever it takes to understand this. And although it was more out of necessity, it was also out of want because I was like, I don't want to do bad. Like, I want to have good grades. I want to be studious. I want to be that academic weapon. And so I would go and see this professor. The first time I went and saw him, I was really not in a good place because, like, I guess that the way that that class was going was kind of translating to the way a lot of my classes were going. I don't know what was going on, but I had a few hard classes that semester. And I was like, look, I'm trying. Like, I want to do good. It's just I can't understand it. He sits down with me for like hour or two maybe, and we go over like what I had not understood, what was flying over my head. And although I didn't understand it perfectly, it got to be a little bit more clear. And I was like, that kind of worked. And so I go and see him again. And eventually we just started talking and talking and really going over these concepts one on one in his office after class. And it got to the point where like I would be so deep into these conversations, one because I needed to be better at the class, but then after like learning about something for so long, you start to be kind of fascinated by it. And it was stats. And so we would talk about, normal curves and standard deviations, all this stuff, and we were doing it by hand in the year 2024. It was crazy. But doing it by hand, and I started to become fascinated by the subject. And so it turned from like, ugh, I'm failing this class, like I have to get better, to be like, I want to get better at this, like I want to understand this. And relating to a psychology topic, that's called like the mere exposure effect, where it's just like being around something for so long, no matter what, physical, non physical, something for so long, just the mere exposure will make you more susceptible to liking that thing. Um, that's why routines get so ingrained in people's head. The more you do something, the more comfortable you get with it. And so I hated office hours before I started going to him. And then after a few, like 4 or 5 visits, I was like, this is really nice. And so I even started doing it with other professors. And I guess my takeaway from that is like forming a connection with your professors and like really being in, like trying to be intrigued, at least giving it some thought and being like, I want to understand this, will turn your grade around. Like I went from failing those first tests in that stats class to having an A at the end of the year, barely having an A. I worked so hard to get it. And so, if you really put your mind to something, go and see your teachers after class in a non-academic setting. Ask people for help. Ask people for help. Reach out if you have questions and you know somebody that is knowledgeable about whatever it is that you're struggling with. If you've got some mental health struggles, reach out to somebody who's been through it. Reach out to a therapist because they know what they're doing. If you're having monetary struggles, reach out to a financial advisor. Like that sounds so bad, but at the same time, it's like they're there for a reason. And then you don't have to pay for these people. Like you can find somebody that you know that might be a little bit, even just a little bit more knowledgeable than you. Always great to ask for help. Um, Man, I just went on a huge tangent about school and trying to better your grades and stuff. Um, but yeah, that's all I got for that. I can't believe I just expanded on that so much. Um, I wanted to talk about Christmas too. Christmas just happened yesterday. complete subject change. That was pretty fun. Um, I had a lot of not like emotions, but thoughts racing through my head the last few days. Like before Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, like things just became more apparent to me. Um, Christmas just doesn't hit like it did. Obviously, growing up, Christmas is always not going to be the same. When you're a kid, you're like Santa's coming, it's so magical. Um, and now it just feels a little bit more adult, a little bit more mundane. A lot more cards being exchanged, no more Legos under the Christmas tree. So sad. um, but Christmas just doesn't hit the way it does, and I was feeling that extra heavy this year. Um, that scared the crap out of me. Something just fell. Um, yeah, it's just not how it was, and that's okay. Like it is really much like it's becoming evident that Christmas is a lot about spending time with people that you love and just having good food and just talking to people. And this isn't just related to presents at all. It's just like that magical whimsy feeling. It's kind of more so almost like a second Thanksgiving now, where it's just like I get to see a lot of good family right now. I have some good talks. But Christmas was great. I got to see a lot of people, had some great food. The older you get, the more you appreciate the food. Um, my Nana made this delicious sweet potato casserole, and she brought it in, and she was like, "It's sugar free," and I was like, "What?" She's like, then what makes it sweet? She was like, I put stevia in it or something like that. And I was like, no way. And so I tasted it. It was delicious. I've got second servings in my fridge right now. Um, but that was on my dad's side. If you don't know, if you're just tuning into the podcast, on my first episode, Who Am I? I pretty much just gave my background. So I have divorced parents, and so I have two Christmases. Pretty cool. Um, that was my dad's side. We did that on Christmas Eve. So I had that delicious sweet potato casserole. Um, And then Christmas Day, I have a funny story about yesterday. My Nana, another Nana on my mom's side, Nana, she well first I wake up on Christmas Day. I was at my apartment, go to my dad, do my thing with his Christmas Eve, come back to my apartment, spend the night here, wake up in the morning, and then I go on Christmas Day to my mom's to have breakfast. We do a little Christmas Day breakfast. That's our little tradition. Um and out of nowhere, and I'm very close to my Nana, without prefacing at all, she just goes, Nana's in the hospital. And I was like, oh my God, what? She goes, oh no, she just cut her finger. And I was like, oh my gosh. Okay, you just gave me a heart attack. But I was like, why is she in the hospital? She cut her finger using a mandolin. And so I was like, that's funny. She was preparing the salad for tonight, and I guess she cut her finger. Ended up on the ER, in the ER on Christmas Day. Um, but the funny story is when we get there, my uncle, who had taken her to the hospital, told us the story of their hospital visit. And I'll try and recall it as best as I can. So, my grandmother cuts her finger, and from all the clues I've put together, she didn't really think it was a big deal at first. It was a lot of blood, she said. She cut her finger on a mandolin doing her slicing for the vegetables, I guess, probably a cucumber or something. Um, and she doesn't think it's very bad, so she waits a few minutes, 5, 10 minutes. There's a really loud sports car. Sounds like gunshots. Um, so she waits about 5 or 10 minutes before she's like, I need to call somebody. So she calls my uncle who lives right there. She's like, I just cut my finger. It's kind of bad. I need you to come over. So he comes over to my grandmother's house. And on the way, him and my aunt are just like, do you think it's bad? Like, how bad do you think it is? And they were like, it's probably pretty bad because my Nana is very much, she likes to dumb things down. She's not an exaggerator. She doesn't like to blow things out of proportion. And so when they get there, it's like gushing blood apparently. Take her to the ER, and when they get there, they do their check-in. They're like, she cut her finger to the front lady or the front desk lady. They were like, she cut her finger on a mandolin. So she writes all this down, gets her name, date of birth, age, all that stuff. And so they go back and um, they talk to this young doctor, they said. And after about 10 or 15 minutes of talking, it became aware that he didn't think that she cut her finger on a mandolin. He thought that she cut her finger on a mandolin. And so that's like so funny in my mind. Like this doctor thinks that my nana cut her finger just shredding the mandolin, playing some country lick, and she's like this old frail woman. And the whole time, this doctor's like, she cut her finger. That's a pretty gnarly mandolin player right there. Um, but yeah, that was pretty funny. But on that side of the family, we had lasagna, we had some salad, and my mom made focaccia bread. It was delicious. Love some good focaccia. Um, but yeah, that was Christmas. Pretty awesome. Got some good gift cards. Gonna utilize those for sure. Buy some food. Um, but everyone knows what happens after Christmas. New Year's, right around the corner. 2026, can you believe it? We have made it all the way around. Um, that's my next topic I want to talk about. Just 2026. Oh my gosh. Um, and the passage of time. That's what I have written on here. The passage of time. Um, I watched a Vsauce video one time of him explaining that phenomenon that we all describe as, man, the years or the days just go by faster every day. Or the years just keep going faster. And if you haven't seen that video, I recommend you just look up Vsauce passage of time. Probably show up, probably one of the first ones. But what he explains is that um, if you are 1 year old and you take that, that is one segment, that's 1 year. And if you have the same amount of time that represent or the same space right here that represents your life, when you turn 2, it gets cut in half. And so now those years are half as big. And when you're 3 years old, they get thirds, and then quarters, and then fifths, and so on, um, until you're left with this, and these years suddenly take up a smaller amount on the timeline. And so, only in my 21st year of life, I'm like really starting to experience that because in college, you plan your classes by semester, and whenever you plan for next semester, when I first went to my freshman year, I was like, that's so far away. Um, Man, we're planning these classes way ahead of time. Now, when I plan them, I'm like, this is very nice because that is not far away at all. And now I'm even like, next Christmas will be here as soon as we know it. Um, but man, it's just crazy how fast things seem to move now. Um, I remember being 5 years old thinking, man, driving a car, I don't got to worry about that at all. Now I have had 2 cars, a job where I drive cars, like these things that seem so far away and seem so monumental are so far away in your mind until they're there. And then you're like, wow, things really catch up to you. And I guess my current equivalent to that is like owning a house. I'm like, man, that is far away. I don't got to worry about that. But I've learned my lesson with the car thing. I was like, that was so far away. I don't need to worry about that. And now I'm like, man, owning a house might not be that far away. Having a family might not be that far away. And I'm not getting too far ahead of myself. But the passage of time is just crazy. Things get faster and faster. As I said at the beginning of this episode, it's so important to just take a deep breath. Really just stay present in the moment. I'm a fast talker. I even get caught up in my own speech. I'm up in my head. Um, just important to keep yourself grounded and know where you are. Um, but yeah, 2026 right around the corner. New Year's resolutions getting made. Drop your New Year's resolution, your top 3, top 2, or just one. Drop it in the comments. I want to know how you guys are going to better yourselves. Maybe I'll talk about some of these ideas and suggestions in the next episode. We're not done yet. But some of my goals for 2026. This has probably been a goal of mine every New Year's for the past 5 or 6 years. But I just want to eat better. I mean, I know I'm young, but the earlier you start taking care of your body, the longer I think those benefits are going to last you. I just want to eat better. I want to, and I've already been doing a lot better about this in the recent months. I don't want to eat out as much, not as much fast food, fried foods. I'm not judging you if you do out there. But cooking is so much cleaner. Um, Cooking homemade stuff. I want to do that more. Um, I guess that leads into going to the gym more. I mean, I've gone to the gym pretty consistently for a while now, but just sticking to that. Maybe trying a little bit harder. I think I could up the weights a little bit more frequently, not be so lazy in there. I just want to be more consistent. That's one of the words that I have written down here. Consistency in all areas. Do your chores every week on the dot. Don't procrastinate. Obviously, you're going to have bad weeks. I'm going to have bad weeks where these goals aren't going to be met. But I think just giving yourself grace too. If you do fail, going back to failure, if you do fail at some of these New Year's resolutions, it doesn't mean that they're omitted. It doesn't mean they're over with. Don't even try anymore. It means like you slipped up, still keep trying to work towards that goal. If you're dragging something up a hill and it slips from your grasp for a moment, are you gonna just let it slide all the way down? Or are you gonna grab it back and then just be like, all right, I'm gonna keep going? No, because it would be a waste of everything that you had done before then. So starting out strong. If you slip up, don't beat yourself up too much. Move on from it. I need to do good about that. Do good in school. I've been pretty darn good for most of my college career so far. I'd like to keep that up. Um, Job. Gotta find a job. That's been a common theme throughout these past episodes. I think I have one on the ropes soon. Um, Coffee shop sort of deal. This would obviously just be part time during school, but I still think that's really important to do. Keep you active, keep your funds up. Um, Another one of my goals is to just be kind. Um, I think I'm already a pretty kind person, but I think that, again, with the passage of time, the more and more that we get caught up in our daily lives and the faster the days seem to move, the harder it is to recognize when it is that you might be being a little bit rude or you might be not the kindest person of all time. And so I guess that's two things that are with that is to be kind and slow down. I need to do a better job of like taking some time every day, maybe like starting meditation, although I don't even think that's necessary. I find this to be almost a meditation, jotting down your thoughts, talking to a camera, starting some sort of diary because we get so fast, things become so rapid that we forget to slow down. We become less self-aware. So yeah, be kind, show acceptance to others. I think I already do all these things. These are just things that you can always be better at. I have dialectic written here. Um, if you don't know what dialectic is, I'm not even sure I know 100% what the definition is, but I get it from the term dialectic behavioral therapy, DBT, um, which focuses on dialectic. And that is basically seeing two sides of an instance and saying, all right, what's good about this? What's bad about this? And what happens when you really try and seek out two different sides of something, if you're standing in the middle and looking at two different sides, you begin to get a better like um, you get a better vantage point of like what's really going on. And if you look it up on Google, I looked it up before this episode, dialectics often are put in place to reveal the truth. And so when used in therapy, for myself, I had DBT used, and it's really good because it helps you focus on like what is another possible reason this could be happening. A great example I have is if you're driving in traffic, someone cuts you off. You have two options, and these are the two realities. You get really pissed off about it, and you let it kind of grasp you for a minute and take control of your emotions, or you let it go. And so using dialectics, you go, that person cut me off, and that made my day a lot worse. And then the other side of that is that person might be speeding somewhere because they're got something that they really need to get to, or maybe there's a pregnant wife in the seat. Maybe they're on the way to the hospital to see somebody, just trying to take a step back and see that second viewpoint. That's dialectics. And it often reveals not the truth, but it's like, all right, it's not as big as a deal as you really thought it was. I think traffic is the best example. Just, standstill traffic. Are you really going to get mad at that? Or are you going to look at the other side and go, there's actually nothing I can do to make these hundreds and thousands of cars move faster? Like, there's nothing I personally can do. So you just kind of have to surrender to that and be like, all right, I'm not going to let this consume me. So that's dialectic. I want to be more dialectic this year. And I already touched on this. I just don't get too far ahead of yourself. When you're making your New Year's resolution goals, you can be thinking like I am, very specifically and with a lot of intention, but don't be unrealistic. Don't get too far ahead of yourself. Don't set yourself up to let yourself down. You know what I mean? Make things that are attainable. Um, and when you're making these goals, be careful not to step too far into that future mindset. And remember, like, you are in today. Um, and this goal that you're setting for yourself, it might take the entirety of next year, and you have a lot of time to work towards it. So don't get too caught up in trying to better yourself right now. There's no timeline. That's what my mom always says. There is no timeline. It doesn't even have to be a New Year's resolution goal. It doesn't even have to be about the new year. It can just be a goal that you want to start working towards for however long in the future. I talked about grounding. I urge you guys to all take some time, 5 minutes, 10 minutes every day. Maybe try and do some sort of grounding technique. Go on a walk. Take a minute to breathe. Don't get on your phone. And just remember that, like, you are here. Sometimes I'll be on my phone and I'll be scrolling or something for so long, and it's like you forget that you're even sitting on a couch. You forget that you are, like, in this reality. You literally, your vision, your field of view becomes the screen, and that happens in other areas that isn't just the screen. Your whole field of view becomes a piece of paper that you're working on, or a video game, or just take a moment every day to step out of that and be like, I'm here. Stay present. And I also think that in this new year, I want not just myself, but I love it when people just are themselves. I think everyone should talk in class. Raise your hand if you have to say something. Talk to your friends if you need to. I urge all of you guys to do something like this. Use your voice. Use your hands. Write down your words. Be yourself and just stay true to that. I think that when you are in that mindset of just wanting to be true to yourself and following your core values, that's when you become the most you and the most bright that you can be. I think that being a shining light is never a bad thing, especially in today's age. Try not to be grumpy. I get grumpy sometimes too, but I'm saying all this. I'm not a saint. I definitely have issues that I need to work on too. I'm not perfect, but I'm just excited to work on things. This goes back to that math class. Be excited to get better at something. Don't think about the outcome and be like, it's going to be so hard to get there. Be like, it's going to be fun trying to get there. At the gym, you see a guy with shredded 6-pack abs. Man, that's going to be so hard to do. Let's work on it. You don't have to get him tomorrow. You don't have to get him in a week or a month. It could be a year, 2 years down the line. 3, 4, If you have goals, just keep trying to work towards them. Don't be too down on yourself. Keep moving forward. This is Warren's World. Not this is my world. This is Warren's World, the podcast. Thank you guys for watching. The world keeps spinning, and next episode, the conversations are going to keep coming. Thank you for tuning in. That has been episode 4. I'll try and upload a little bit more consistently, but no promises. Everyone have a good day, good night, wherever you're at. I'll catch you guys next time.